we'll prove that if the sequence an converges to a, and then we create a new sequence by multiplying every term of an by some real number c, this new sequence will converge to c times that limit a. And they don't make convergent sequence proofs much easier than this one. We know our proof will begin with taking an arbitrary epsilon greater than 0. Then, in our proof, we're going to want to show that the absolute value of a term of our sequence, c times an, minus the supposed limit, c times a, is less than epsilon. In trying to figure out how to do that, we may immediately notice that we could factor out the absolute value of c from this expression. We have the absolute value of can minus ca, so that's equal to, factoring out the absolute value of c, we have the absolute value of c times the absolute value of an minus a. And this is very nice, because the absolute value of an minus a, we can make that as small as we want, because we know that an converges to a. Since we would like this expression to be less than epsilon, we want to make the absolute value of an minus a less than epsilon over the absolute value of c. Then, if we replace this with this, the absolute values of c will cancel out, and we'll have that the expression is less than epsilon. Before we move forward with that plan, though, we may notice that there could be a problem. We're intending to divide epsilon by the absolute value of c, but that might be 0. We don't know what c is. Thankfully, a moment's thought will tell us that this isn't too much of a problem. If c does happen to be equal to 0, then c times an is a constant sequence, consisting only of zeros. So if c equals 0, then every term of our sequence is equal to 0, it's a constant sequence, and we know that a constant sequence converges to its constant value. Thus, our sequence would converge to 0, which is indeed equal to c times a if c is 0. I'll leave a link in the description to my lesson proving that a constant sequence converges to its constant value. But anyways, since we just proved that our result is true when c is equal to 0, for the rest of our main proof, we can assume that c is not equal to 0. Then, moving forward with our plan, we know that since an converges to a, by definition of a convergent sequence, there exists a natural number, say big N, so that for all n greater than big N, the absolute value of an minus a is less than epsilon over the absolute value of c. Because remember, we know that this is eventually less than any given positive number, and epsilon over the absolute value of c is positive, because epsilon is positive, and we're assuming that c isn't 0, so its absolute value is also positive. With that big N value in mind, we can now go ahead and complete our proof. So of course, we begin with let epsilon be greater than 0, and we'll specify c is not equal to 0, which gives legitimacy to what we were doing over here. Then, for all n greater than big N, where big N is taken to be the one that we got over here, we consider the distance between terms of our sequence, c times an, and our supposed limit, c times a. We know that this is equal to this, factoring out the absolute value of c, and then since n is greater than big N, we know that the absolute value of an minus a is less than epsilon over the absolute value of c. So if we replace the absolute value of an minus a with epsilon over the absolute value of c, that will make the expression bigger. Then of course, the absolute values of c cancel out. This is equal to epsilon. So, given any epsilon greater than 0, and provided that c is not equal to 0, we can find a number big N, so that every term of our sequence after the big nth term is within epsilon of c times a. If c is equal to 0, then c times a is 0, and every term of our sequence is 0, and thus, it being a constant sequence, it converges to that value of 0. Thus, if an is a sequence converging to a, and c is some real number, then the sequence sequence C times AN converges to C times A.